Hi everyone and welcome to another video. I'm Laurent Macquart and today we are doing the A to Z book tag. So this book tag was created, this tag was created by Jim, and he took the alphabet and for each letter he found a question. And what he did is that he split it up into three videos. So you've got the A to J, the J to R, S, something like that, and R to Z. But my soulmate Paula, who tagged me, just put them all together in one video, so I'm going to do the same. Because, then we're done with it. There are 26 questions, because there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and let's start. The first is A. Ha! A is for author. Which author, I have the questions here, which author have you read the most books by? So for me that is Bernard Werber. I just checked, I have 17 books by him, and there's an 18th one that I really liked that I lost already 15 years ago. I reread one of these books last year, and then I didn't really like the writing at all, so I don't think I'd like them now, but somehow I'm still very attached to having this very big collection of books. One of my favorites is, so this is science fiction, which I don't read anymore. It's Nous les dieux, so Us the Gods, and this is the third volume in some kind of trilogy slash quintology, and the premise of the trilogy is that our main character, in the first book, he discovers death and goes through all of the stages that you go through when you die. I mean, they have a machine that allows them to go through death. And the second book, so when you die, you have reached some kind of level, you can become an angel. And when you're an angel, you get 3 mortals that you have to help themselves also reach some kind of level. And if you do that, then you become a god. And in this book, he and other people, there's a kind of school, and they learn how to be gods and how to make a planet, make sure there's minerals and plants and animals, and then people, and how to make the world and make sure that your people continue living. And simultaneously to that, he and his friends are trying to find out what's what in this new goddish world and what the level above that level is. I mean, what do you do when you are the god winner of all of your class? And I used to really like it, but again, don't think I'd like it right now. So that's the first question. I was trying to be fast with my answers. It's not working. B is for Black History Month. What are you reading for Black History Month? I'm not partaking in Black History Month because I want to learn and read about cultures and history that I did not learn about throughout the whole year. So I'm doing this as much as possible anyway. Well, as much as possible, trying to do it more. C, what are you currently reading? Well, I am kind of reading something about Black history. I am reading Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, which is the history of the racist ideas in America. Sorry, the definitive history. And I'm hoping to finish it today. I have about 50 pages left, but that could also take me another week. And I'm also reading the last book of the Chronicles of Narnia, which is very racist, so those go very well together. D, what is your drink of choice while reading? It is tea, and I mean, even in the summer, it's mostly tea. Sometimes iced tea, sometimes water, sometimes when I feel I've earned it, hot chocolate. But it's tea, and my tea cup is empty. E, ebook or physical? Physical. I love having a physical book. I mean, and ebooks, I just do it when that's the best way to read a book, but even then I probably just read another book that I have physically. F, favorite fictitious character. Let me find the real book. It is Rita from Once Upon a River. I have to admit though, so this is from Diane Satterfield. This is the second time I filmed this tag because the first time I wasn't happy, and then it took me, I didn't know what her name was, and I had to look for it. But Rita is a strong, independent woman. She's a doctor. She's the doctor that's in this book. I'm gonna talk about the book later. But she's a strong, independent woman. She's intelligent. Has a good heart. She's trying to do good to her community. She's also vulnerable. And I just loved how intelligent, how real she felt. sometimes a lot of these strong independent women in a lot of fantasy series, they all feel the same. They all feel very angry and young, and she was an actual woman, and I just really liked her. Maybe it's part also of the book because I really like the book, but yeah, Rita is awesome. I don't aspire to be her completely, but yeah, she's awesome. I'm gonna stop with that. We are now at G, Georgia. Do you know any famous Georgians? That is Georgia, the country, not the US state. No, I haven't read any Georgian authors yet. The only link I have with Georgia is that, and this is a very bad story, I mean, I shouldn't be telling you all how stupid. So, when I was still rowing and I was a junior, I think I was 16, 17, I was volunteering at the Junior World Championships that were in Amsterdam, and there was a period that I was just in the stands making sure that people had the tickets, and there was two boys from a Georgian double skull, and I really liked them, and so I would be, at one part of the opening and they would always sit on the other side, and I was very happy when I saw them, and I had to Google them and everything. I was 16. That's the only, sorry, that's, okay. H, or horror. Is there a book that really scared you? I read Bunny by Mona Awad last year. I was not expecting it to be horror. I don't read a lot of horror. It's not something that interests me. But this one was scary. It was very weird. Very, very weird and scary things happen and you're not expecting them to just, scary in the ridiculous scary, not in the thriller scary kind of way. I also find the book, what's his name on the island, The Lord of Flies, scary because you see what happens to those kids when they're on their own and how they become brutal very fast, so I find that scary, but that's a different kind of scary. I don't really know. Italy, India, Ireland, intelligent, whatever you like. So I kind of went for intelligent to highlight a book that I haven't talked about yet on this channel, and that is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. Why I think that this book falls under intelligent is that it to me has a very intelligent metaphor. It's magic realism, and the magic realism is in magical doors. People can go through doors and they find themselves in a completely different space, and the doors are a metaphor for immigration. So you have a lot of people and communities in this that in order to flee war, something like that, can go through a door to find a safer place. And I liked this because it really made me think about immigration in a different way, because it removes the traumatic immigrating itself kind of aspect from it. It allowed me to focus a lot more on the life of the immigrants when they arrived somewhere. So yeah, I thought this was a very intelligent metaphor. So that's I. J, what book have you just finished? I just finished two big books yesterday. One is Love in Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which I read for Columbia for the Invisible Cities project, and I'll talk about that in the wrap-up of Columbia. And the other is the third volume of the Devabad trilogy by S.S. Chakraborty, which was 28 listening hours. And I finished that one yesterday, and I'll talk about that one in my wrap-up of February. But I won't talk about it that much because it's a third installment, and I don't want to spoil much. We are now at K. K is for King. What is your favorite book about royalty? It was hard to find something, but in the end I ended up choosing this one, Le Juge d'Égypte by Christian Jacques. So this is a whole trilogy in one. So the three books are La Pyramide Assassinée, La Loi du Désert, et La Justice du Vizir. So this is the Judge of Egypt. And I read this, I think, easily 7 years ago. And the judge in this book, so this is in ancient Egypt, he's a very fair and pragmatic man, and because of that he grows in his career, and he ends up also working for the pharaoh at the time, Ramses, and being involved in some kind of mysterious thing that is trying to dethrone Ramses, and he's trying to find out what's what. I remember liking this, and I remember the court life of the pharaoh a little bit. But I'll have to reread this at one point, and I just find it satisfying. So it's not. Does this work? It's not written very big font, so it's not as big as I thought. I'm afraid it is. Okay, it's still 1,000 pages, but it's 3 books. So that's for King. L is for Librarian. Who is your favorite librarian? I don't really talk to librarians because the library I go to is very big, but I was talking to Paula about this, and we are going to be very cool librarians in some kind of past where we can have time for voluntary work like that. But not librarian, but I do have favorite booksellers because 3 friends of mine used to work at a bookshop, and 2 of them are the ones that also made with someone else, also made the booklet that I'm part of. So yeah, those are my favorite bookshop sellers, and that's Annika, Margot, and Esther, and the bookshop is the Omslag in Delft. So if you're in Delft, I'd recommend going to the Omslag. It's very small and independent, and go check it out. Although you won't see any of those 3 there anymore. M is for magazine. Do you have any magazine subscriptions or a favorite magazine? No, I like reading books more, but there was a time that I had a subscription to the Runner's World magazine that I really liked. It motivated me to go running and to be interested in the running world, but after a time I felt that it was starting to be a bit repetitive. I mean, there's so much you can bring out about running, and it was kind of, in those kind of magazines, doing ultra runs is not the norm, but it's something that is regularly talked about. So if talking about ultra marathons, ultra runs is a thing, then people feel like doing a marathon is also normal, and a lot of people do marathons even though physically it's not a good idea. It takes years to be ready for something like that. So I'm kind of against that principle. Not necessarily linked to the whole magazine thing. N is for news. Where do you usually find your news? I get most of my news. I don't really like to follow the news because it's not happy, and I get frustrated very quickly. But my boyfriend does follow a lot of things. He follows talk shows. He follows the news on the NOS. He follows the news from Nieuwsuur, which does, here in the Netherlands, it dives in a little bit more deeply. And I got him the newspaper for Christmas because I knew he'd like it. And with the TV being on while I'm reading, I do hear a lot of things, and we do talk about things, and I do kind of half-watch talk shows, or he tells me about newspaper articles that he's reading, so I am aware of things that happen in the world. More than I'd like, even, I'd say. O is for O. I don't have a prompt for O, so you can make up your own. So this is where I wanted to talk about Once Upon a River Again by Diane Satterfield, because it starts with an O, and I really like this book. But that was before I realized that my favorite Fictious character was also in this one. But this book, now I can actually talk about it. It's very atmospheric, it's very well written. It's about a young girl that is plucked from a river. People initially believe she's dead, and Rita is the doctor that examines her. But it turns out she's not dead, and she doesn't communicate, she doesn't talk, and there are 3 families that kind of have a claim to her, or think they have a claim to her. And the book is about discovering who this girl is, who she belongs to, and the stories of these families and the stories of the community are really also around it, because all feel drawn to this girl. And I absolutely love this. I might reread it this year. Maybe it's too soon this year. Again, on the other hand, I really like Rita, and I forgot that Rita's name was Rita, so maybe that's a sign I should reread it. Feels like not long enough ago. We are now at P. P is for Penguin. What is your favorite publisher? I don't really look at publishing. I'm not really aware of things on that front, but I do like, I like that with French publishers, they kind of stick to a style, so you often have these white books, or like this is what the back is like, and I really like this one because the text is still in this box, and it has this very clean feel to it, so I like that. And otherwise, on the opposite of, well, it's still clean, but I really like also these. Yeah, this is Les Classiques abrégés de l'École des Loisirs, and I really like these also. This is Macmillan's Collector's Library, and I don't know what it is. I find them very cute and very pretty. I like the gold. I'm not someone that I thought was liking the gold, but I also have Emma, and I would want all of my Jane Austens to be in these. They're very small, and I mean, they're ridiculously small written, but somehow I'm always drawn to these. But honestly, if you're a publisher that always publishes their books with the same hive, I'm gonna be happy. That's the most important thing, and I want one author to always be in the same style. Honestly, then I'm happy. We are at Q. Q is for queer. Who is your favorite LGBTQI plus author? I'm going to talk about two, both are Dutch. One is non-binary, and that is Marieke Lucas Reineveld, who wrote De Avond is Ongemak, who won the International Booker last year. It's a very gruesome, yucky, disgusting book that apparently scratches some kind of itch that I have, because I really want to read her second book that came out a couple of months ago. That is Mijn Lieve Grunseling or something like that. So I want to read that, and I also really like Pete Wu. He's a Chinese-Dutch man, and in his book The Bananengeneratie he talks about the racism towards the Asian community in general in the Netherlands, as well as his experience being a gay man in that community. And I really liked his book, and I really like the other activism that he's been doing to talk about these problems in the Netherlands. And R is for Russia. Do you have a favorite novel, poem, or writer from Russian literature? I read Anna Karenina last year, and I really liked it. I really liked spending so much time with the characters, even though it's very slow. I liked discovering how the lives of the two main characters are opposites. So one, Anna Karenina, starts at the top of her life, everything is going well, but because she falls in love with another man, and decides to go with that, she kind of ends up in a ditch. And the other character, Lev, what's his name, kind of starts out in a ditch, but he slowly builds up his life. And I really liked that contrast. And again, spending so much time with him. S is for science fiction. What is your favorite science fiction novel? I don't read a lot of science fiction. I read Sleeping Giants by Sylvain something last year, and I really liked that. But so as Bernard Weber is I read a lot of his book, and that is science fiction. So I want to take the opportunity to talk about this one. It's Le Papillon des Étoiles, which translates to the Butterfly of the Stars, and it hasn't been translated to English to my knowledge. The premise of this book is what I really liked. So the world is going to end, and therefore this French millionaire, billionaire, whatever, decides that we have to make a very, very big starship in the form of a butterfly to go to the nearest inhabitable planet, but it will take thousands of light years to get there. So what they decide to do is put a very big number of people on the ship. They make a selection, and all of these people are outstanding citizens. They have looked at a bunch of things to make sure that this is the ideal population, and therefore the ideal population will also arrive on that other planet. However, the descendants of this ideal population, because they don't know what war is, because they don't know the decisions that have been made to make sure that people are then outstanding citizens, they do start to have conflicts with one another, and wars break out on this humongous ships. And the generation after them then decides, oh, the war was bad, we should never have war again, and therefore they have rules, and they become a good, peaceful society again, and there's no crime and stuff like that. But then the generation after that, again, not having known crime and not having known war, again has all of these conflicts. So you see that being the case for all thousands of years. We don't hear about all the thousands of stories. You get the gist after a while. And in the end, only 3 people arrive on this new planet, and at that point they don't even know why they were sent there. And there's kind of a recreation of the Genesis and Adam and Eve and Lilith and stuff like that. So yeah, I really liked it. Really opened my eyes to the patterns that we have also in our lives, that I believe that our generation, my generation, will again have a war like we had in Europe with the Second World War, because we don't know what war here is like right now. So yeah, it opened my eyes to that. So for that, I am grateful for this book. Again, I don't think I will like it if I read it again. We are now at the letter T. T is for trope, tag, and many other things. You can create your own prompt for favorite trope. So I'm not often very aware of tropes, but one thing that I have been noticing is the rhythm in trilogies, often dystopian or fantasy trilogies. I see that the same things, I always prefer the first one. I always dislike the second one most, and then the third one is kind of hit or miss. And I always like the first one because you get to know this world and it always kind of ends well, and you get to know the two characters that are most probably going to fall in love, usually always also in the first book. And the second book is always darker and it always ends badly. I oftentimes in the second book, you don't really get progress. You just see difficulties that you kind of knew were going to come, and they just kind of get developed, but it's not really going anywhere. And then in the third book, there is a resolution, but that resolution often there's just another level added, another dimension is added. So I'm kind of seeing this structure often in trilogies. And I wonder whether you noticed it or if this is just something that I'm inventing. We are now at U. U is for unicorn. What is your favorite mythical animal? When I was thinking about this, I realized that apparently I like the nobility of horses, because I really like Pegasus as flying horse. I really like hippogriffs of the Harry Potter world. Again, noble, but still kind of angry and flying creatures. Apparently flying is also a very big thing. And I like centaurs. Centaurs are so strong. But I've never thought about a female centaur, so maybe, yeah, kind of like those three. And I like cats. Flying cats? Sphinx? No, Sphinx are usually bad people. But yeah, those three usually do well. And dwarves. And elves. Yeah. I don't have a favorite. V is for Violet. What is your favorite Violet book? That is Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which is about a 15-year-old girl who leaves the house is sent away from the house of her very controlling father to live with her aunt, who is a lot more progressive. But Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has a stance I don't necessarily agree with on trans people. So V is for why. If you have a Booktube channel, why did you start it? So I started mine last year during lockdown, when Lauren Wade and Simon from Savage Reads had this chill discussion and said, if you're hesitating, just do it, it's worth it. And I thought, okay. And I did it to get to know more people and to have this kind of creative outlet to talk about books and see what this adventure was like. X is for Xenocide. What novel featuring Xenocide interested you, if any? I'm on the if any side. I had to Google Xenocide. It's the death of a outer world population. And because I don't read enough science fiction, I don't really have an opinion on this one. Y is for YouTube. Apart from booktubers, what YouTube channels do you like to watch? I really like Lena Norms. She does do videos about books, but she also does videos about other topics, kind of essay videos about the climate crisis, about the publishing world, about clothes, about sustainability, about a lot of things, and I really like her energy. And I also liked Rachel Maxey, who makes clothes mostly, hobbity, Victorian kind of things, and I like that when she's making something she's very open about. Okay, I'm just gonna try this, don't know if it works, maybe it's not the way to do this, but... And that motivated me to get a sewing machine and try my hand at sewing. Z is for Zero. What is your favorite book about nothing? And I'm afraid, so I didn't want to have the same answer as Paula, but I completely agree with her answer, and that is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, which my mother has and I want to get back. And it is about an English butler, and nothing happens, but it is wonderful. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'm not gonna tag, those were all the questions. the 26 questions. I'm not going to tag anybody except Tokyochemist because you are my tag stalker, and every tag that I knew from now on you also have to do. Haha. But I'm not going to tag anybody else because it's a long video, and if you don't feel like it, you shouldn't do it, but you should do it, Tokyochemist. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about all of these things, clean up all my books, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thanks for watching, bye!
Ba-chum, ba-chum, chum.